right, we're back with Michael and Todd. We're going to jump into the best practices for listing agents after the contract has been accepted. So Todd, what steps can the agent take to ensure a speedy appraisal and an accurate appraisal order?
So what you want to do right out of the gate, once you have that bottom line contract, is you want to put it all together in one single PDF. You want to get that over to the lender so that they've got all of the information in that bottom line purchase agreement. That includes any addendums that you may have, which are in regards to seller credits, anything else that is additional to that purchase agreement that you're signing right up front. Put them all into one PDF and get that right over to the lender for them to begin to execute. You also want to make sure that the contact information is absolutely correct, both on the buy side and the sell side. What I mean by that is your buyer's agent contact information and the listing agent contact information. Make sure you've got the best cell phone number, you've got the best email address. There might be something that pops up in the contract where you need to get a hold of, or the VA needs to get a hold of, those people very, very quickly. Let's just make sure we don't have any delays because of bad information.
Todd, is this a time where we should go back and work on prepping the property more? I mean, the appraisal's already been ordered.
I mean, we probably are taking care of things before we get to this point in time where the property is well taken care of for appraisal. But when you're going through as an agent, as a listing agent, you're looking at the property, you're talking with the seller about, hey, this home needs to be in decent shape for folks to live in. It needs to be habitable, right? So it's not things like bad paint color or maybe there's a little gouge in the hardwood floor. We're looking at things like, do we have a handrail down the stairs? Do we have a tripping hazard as we're going into the garage that's a 2-foot difference between one concrete slab and the next? So if there is something that still needs to be addressed, it can be done. We probably should be addressing this, though, as we bring that home to market.
Absolutely, Todd. Get things in the right order. There's a whole section here about minimum property requirements and minimum conditions. If you haven't watched that yet, make sure you watch that in great detail. Very, very important. Now, we oftentimes hear about how appraisers are slower or there's problems with the VA or something's going on. And there's a lot of steps that can happen on the lender side to speed that up. But more importantly, what a lot of agents don't know is that they can also be involved in helping expedite the delivery of that appraisal.
Absolutely.
So the agent can follow up on that delivery as long as they know when the appraisal was ordered. So, communicate with that lender a little bit, hey?
Absolutely.
So there is a timeliness expectation. And if you are watching this video, down below in the notes section, we'll have a link to the VA appraisal timeliness that'll coordinate to your state and your area. Most areas are somewhere between 8 to 15 business days. Ultimately, the best practice there would be if your appraisal, you have not heard that it's coming back somewhere around that final day. So let's say, for example, it's 8 business days,
right,
and you are hitting day 8 and your lender hasn't heard anything. You as an agent, and again, this is kind of a back and forth. If the lender seems like they know what they're doing and they say like, hey, we're talking to the VA Regional Loan Center, we're communicating, probably let that lender handle that, right?
I would let the lender handle that. As long as the lender's communicating with you, oh my goodness, like let them do their job and stay engaged. But if that lender doesn't seem like they know what they're doing, Mike, what do they do?
Well, that's I think something that a lot of agents don't know. The agent can actually get involved and call the Regional Loan Center.
Right.
They can go right over to the lender's head there. And so you as an agent can contact the Regional Loan Center. You've seen the contact information on other slides. We're going to put it again down in contact information. But you would request the Construction and Valuation Desk, CNV. And when you get to CNV, you're going to need the property address, possibly the last 4 of the veteran's social, and if you can get it from the lender's ID number for that loan, but most of the time they can just look it up with an address. Now, if the lender was giving you accurate information about when that appraisal was ordered and you know the timeliness, you can certainly call and say, hey, we're on day 10. I believe the posted turn time for our area is 10 days. So can I get an update? Can you follow up with the appraiser for us, VA, and see if we can get that appraisal turned in? It seems like we may be impeding the veteran from closing on time. I think the VA really likes to hear that word impeding, gets them fired up.
Yes, they do.
So what would you have to add to that, Todd, that back and forth between the agent and the VA there?
So just like in any other transaction as an agent, you're working with a lender. If the lender seems like they know that they know their stuff and they are on their game, you kind of let them go. Just make sure that they're communicating. And if something smells funny or feels off, of course, jump in and start chirping at the lender to see, hey, where are we? What's happening? Where do things stand? And as Mike pointed out, you do have the opportunity if things kind of go off rails or they're not according to timeline. If you've got some pieces of information that are vital, you can go right over that lender's head and ask, hey, where does the appraisal stand? Where are we on this process? So you have an opportunity to stay engaged on behalf of the veteran and make sure that you're still moving forward and that the whole process is moving forward in accordance with what the veteran is aiming for in this circumstance.
Now, Todd, I got a special, hey, watch this other video clip for you because there's more details on this in the other section of the course. But I want to remind you that if you know what you're doing as an agent and you have made sure that that appraisal order is in, that you should be keeping your eye open for Tidewater.
Yes.
If that Tidewater notification comes up, just a reminder, you want to jump on that right away, correct?
You do. And remember, we talked earlier about having the correct contact information. Here's the main reason. If the property has Tidewater called, you want to make sure that there is no delay at all whatsoever in all parties being notified that we now have the opportunity to work on getting this appraisal back up, or at least getting value back up on that appraisal. So again, great contact information. Now we have the opportunity to execute Tidewater in a timely fashion.
All right, last thing to add here is if that appraisal comes back and you've verified with the lender that the value is good and that there are no repairs required, you're in pretty good shape, right?
Should be in decent shape.
But you also got to ask, there's an important question there. There's always a but. Has the notice of value been issued?
There we go.
The NOV. And the NOV is the acronym that if you're an agent who really wants to be an insider on VA, that's a question you should be asking the lender. Have they issued the notice of value? So if you've ascertained that the appraisal seems like it's in good shape and the notice of value is good, from there it's an underwriting and clear to close question. Now, one last asterisk, if the value is not there, we talked about in some of these other property conditions slides and appraisal slides, you can go back and do a
reconsideration of value.
Absolutely, reconsideration of value. And if there's a condition that's perhaps not being repaired that we think is minor, we can also do a
blank on it.
MPR, tricky one. Minimum property requirement waiver. Remember that.
Right.
We can also
MPR
request
waiver.
that. Yep. So we're going to give you the details on how to do that in the other section. So, all right, that's all we got. Signing out.